Speed is the key to a perfect scramble, Silas.
It is art, pure molecular art.
Speed is the key to a perfect scramble. Speed is the key to a perfect scramble.
That's it. A duel.
H.
Prepare to be served, Silas. Your cooking sticks, Buster. Go on, Buster, get him! Yes, fantastic move. Keep it up, Silas. Oh no, it's the bulldog! Over here, boy. Come and get the sausages. This hits the spot after a long shift. It sure duck. And look, the dog is getting his exercise.
Welcome to the Whisk and Ladle restaurant. It's getting hot in the kitchen today as two geniuses, two culinary titans, and concurrently, two cats with diametrically opposed views on life have clashed at the stoves. On the right is Buster, a completely black cat, fat as a good barrel of olives. A white chef's hat proudly towers over him, and a red tie adorns his neck. Buster is a follower of the old school and brute force. On the left is Silas, a graceful, snow-white cat in a black chef's hat and a stylish bow tie. He considers himself an artist and cooking, the highest form of art. It all started with the morning menu. Buster, pulling on his white gloves, switched into turbo mode. At an incredible speed, he cracked eggs right against his forehead, throwing the shells over his shoulder, and managed to fry exactly 100 servings of sunny-side-up eggs in a single second. The kitchen filled with a loud, sizzling sound. Silas, meanwhile, with his pinky finger effectively extended, was gently cradling a test tube in his paws. He was creating his masterpiece, a molecular omelet with the aroma of morning dew. Seeing Buster turn the kitchen into an assembly line, Silas couldn't take it anymore. His refined nature shuddered at such vulgarity. With a shout that was hardly fitting for a head chef, Silas grabbed a raw egg and forcefully launched it straight at Buster. The egg, fitting perfectly like a cork, flew into Buster's open mouth and got stuck there. The black cat froze, his cheeks puffed out, and his eyes filled with blood. The retaliation was not long in coming. Buster dived under the sink, pulled out a rubber plunger, and with a juicy squelching sound, stuck it right onto the forehead of the snow-white aesthete. Silas stood with the plunger on his forehead, breathing heavily. Buster was muttering with the egg stuck in his mouth. The atmosphere heated up to the limit. Silas slowly, with ominous drama, stripped one white glove from his paw and slammed it onto the floor in front of his opponent, declaring, "That's it, a duel." Buster, without letting the egg out of his mouth, snorted offensively, tore first one of his gloves off, then the second, and threw them right on top of Silas's glove. "That's it, a duel." He rumbled through the shell. A pile of white gloves formed on the floor. At that moment, they looked so hostile it seemed as if they were about to start fighting each other. And just then, from somewhere above, another chicken egg amusingly fell and broke right on top of the pile. Splat! The yolk sealed the pact of the beginning of the culinary war. Buster grabbed a small crepe frying pan. Enraged, Silas, swaying from side to side because of the plunger, dragged over a huge cast-iron wok pan. The cats crossed their cookware like proper musketeers. Sparks flew in all directions, metal clanged, and sauces splattered all over the walls. Realizing they couldn't overpower each other with frying pans, they synchronously threw them aside. Buster finally spat the ill-fated egg right into Silas's face, grabbed a soup pot, and slammed it onto the white cat's head. Silas blindly fumbled around, found a larger pot, and forcefully clapped it onto Buster. A hollow, ferocious feline growling echoed from under both pots. In the cat's imagination, the kitchen brawl instantly escalated into a medieval tournament. And there was Buster, in shining knightly armor over his chef's apron, proudly riding a white horse. He held a spear in one hand and a huge ladle in the other. His horse nervously stamped its hoof. Opposite him, on a black steed, Silas froze. His armor was perfectly fitted, a spear in his paw, and his favorite frying pan instead of shield. The black horse shifted its legs, ready for battle. For culinary ideals was written in their eyes. The horses broke into a gallop. The cats charged at each other, spears extended. The ground shook. A second, an impact. The spears broke with a loud crack. The horses scattered in different directions, and the two hapless knights, tumbling over, epically thudded onto the ground. The illusion shattered, but their vigor remained. Now they were on the ground, in wide musketeer hats with huge feathers, beautifully and amusingly fencing with swords. A crowd of local cows, pigs, and chickens gathered around, loudly cheering and placing bets. In the midst of the duel, a low growl was heard from behind a tree. The bushes parted, and a massive red bulldog appeared on the battlefield. His fangs gleamed ominously in the sun, and his gaze carried a clear desire to have some cat for breakfast. The musketeer pride flew off the cats in a fraction of a second. Forgetting their grudges, Buster and Silas bolted. The bulldog, viciously clanking his teeth, dashed after them. The cats reached Buster's restaurant, burst inside, and slammed the door, but the dog smashed it open with a crash and flew right after them into the kitchen. Panic struck. Silas, without thinking twice, jumped into the refrigerator and barricaded himself among the shelves fully packed with appetizing sausages. Buster, driven by pure terror, did the impossible. In a single second, he flew vertically upward, stuck to the ceiling with his back with a squelching sound, and froze there, looking down in horror. Down below, the bulldog paced around, frighteningly and amusingly snapping his jaws. Silas realized he had to save the situation. He cracked the refrigerator door open and began throwing out sausages one after another. The bulldog froze. Loudly chomping and swallowing the sausages whole, the dog set about destroying the restaurant supplies. 5 minutes later, all the sausages were gone. The bulldog's belly puffed up to the size of a beer keg. Heaving a heavy sigh, the dog collapsed onto the floor, instantly fell asleep, and started snoring through the entire kitchen. Buster, still hanging from the ceiling, carefully and with a squeak rubbed himself off the whitewash and tumbled down. On his tiptoes, he crept toward the stove, grabbed the largest stock pot, and carefully, like a cloche over a dessert, popped it over the sleeping bulldog. The peaceful snoring continued to echo from under the pot. A sunny afternoon. Walking down a quiet city street, contentedly smacking their lips, are the two chefs. Buster and Silas are happily eating Eskimo ice creams on sticks. And on a leash, they are leading the dejected, overstuffed, and completely tamed red bulldog, who is barely dragging his feet behind his new owners. In the close-up shot, Buster's smiling face and Silas's smiling face are visible, and right between them, the happy face of the bulldog. A huge floral-patterned chef's hat is proudly perched on the dog's head, and he gently holds a branch of a red rose in his teeth. It looks like the Whisk and Ladle restaurant has found its new sous chef and, concurrently, its chief taster.
Buster in the kitchen, black cat, white hat. Silas on the table saying, pass that spat. One chops onions fast, one tastes with pride. Both got little aprons and a lot of feline side. Buster flips a pancake, it lands on his tail. Silas rolls a noodle, then he starts to wail. The sax goes, wah wah. The piano goes plink. Then a tiny fart says, hey, wait a sec, I think. They stare at the stove, then they stare at each other. One whisk in the air, now the soup starts to smother. Buster says, buddy. Silas says, chef. Then the whole room shakes with a farty little rest. Buster and Silas, feeling chefs on fire. Buster and